Rotom is probably the best gimmick Pokemon of all time. We're rating them all, and it's actually pretty awesome in battle. Electric Ghost with Levitate is amazing and gives it more immunities than weaknesses, along with 5 other resistances. Which is great, since Rotom is not very bulky and kind of needs the help defensively. But offensively, it is awesome, with 90s in special attack and speed, coupled with its great move pool full of utility like Confuse Ray, Thunder Wave, and Will-O-Wisp, as well as very strong offensive options. Its base stat total is not very high at all, but everything else about it is fantastic. 4 stars in battle prowess. Oh, and we'll be going over all of its other forms, giving their own scores in the next video. Yet Rotom is post-game in Diamond and Pearl like every other cool Sinnoh Pokemon, but you can get it right after the 2nd gym in Platinum, as well as around the 6th in Kalos and Galar. So that ends up giving it 3.5 stars in availability. Conceptually though, I think Rotom is downright one of the most interesting and creative Pokemon out there. It's based on a Poltergeist or a very similar yokai and takes some aspects from the Will-O-Wisp. But its whole idea really comes from the first part, as it of course takes control of different appliances ranging from the 5 forms usable in battle to phones, Pokedexes, and even bikes. And then, kind of like a little prankster goblin, wreaks havoc and mischief. 5 stars for sure. Design-wise, the forms definitely vary a bit, and here's a hot take. I actually think the Rotom Dex is its best look, but for now, the base form is super cool and unique, albeit a bit sus shape-wise. But I do really like the whole plasma electricity thing radiating off of it. It also has my channel's color scheme, so that's nice. But Rotom is surprisingly a cute little guy. It's a really solid design for sure. 4 stars. So that means Rotom possesses a 4.125 star final score. Rotom's many different forms are really what cement it as one of the most unique Pokemon. We're rating them all, and we already did the base form, so this is going to be a long one because each of the others are actually quite a bit different. They do, however, all have the same stats, which are really good. 105-ish in special attack and both defenses, and decent enough speed. They also all have the Levitate ability, but that means a whole lot more to some than others. The Heat form benefits the most from it, removing what would have been a quad weakness to ground and leaving it with 8 resistances and only 2 weaknesses. They do all have more or less the same move pool, which is incredible. It's full of utility and offense. It differs in the forms with the unique moves they get. Heat gets Overheat, which is an incredibly powerful move. Wash gets Hydro Pump, which is even better, and its electric water typing is also really great with only 1 weakness. Frost really gets the short end of the stick though, gaining the typical ice type weaknesses and nowhere near as many resistances. Blizzard as its unique move is also just not as good as any of the others, since Rotom can't even learn Hail. The Fan form feels more like a joke because of its flying typing, making Levitate completely redundant, but otherwise electric flying is still an incredible combo, and getting Stab Air Slash is also really nice. Mow is a cool one. Electric Grass is an okay typing, definitely the most like middle of the road compared to the others, and getting it Leaf Storm gives it a really strong grass option as well. Honestly, Heat and Wash with their incredible typing, great stats, as well as abundant utility and offense earns them 4.5 stars in battle prowess, really just not enough speed to get them to 5. Frost, Fan, and Mow all have their own unique strengths and weaknesses, but I think they all end up around the same relative strength, so they'll get 4 stars in battle prowess. But for availability, they may as well be mythicals, even though they're not. Rotom is post-game in Diamond and Pearl and the remakes, but even in Platinum where it isn't, you can't get these new forms at all anymore. They're event only, which is no longer running. But in Kalos, you can actually change forms immediately after catching one around the 6th gym, and same goes for Galar, but pretty late game. So that barely ends up giving the Rotom forms 2 stars in availability. And for concept, as we went over in the original Rotom video, this is one of the coolest ideas for a Pokemon ever. You all know it well, it's a little electric gremlin ghost Will-O-Wisp that possesses appliances. 5 stars for all of them. As for design, they all portray their concept equally as well, obviously. They're all very clearly machines possessed by mischievous little ghosts. And the different colored plasma to show off their typing is a really great detail, but they definitely don't all look as good or have the same rule of cool feeling, which you guys seem to agree with, but we'll get to that. If they counted, I think the Rotom Dex is actually its best look and the Bike or PC is its worst, but for these forms, I actually think that Rotom Mow is by far the best design, just because they give it those vicious teeth on that little gremlin smile that really screams possessed lawnmower. It has by far the most personality out of any of the Rotoms. You guys voted 5 stars on this one, and I agree. Then Heat and Wash are together once again in design, as Heat has the red plasma turned to the shape of oven mitts, which is a hilarious detail, and Wash has the disconnected water pipe, once again, great detail, and the plasma just screams Alpha Sapphire, and I can't unsee it, even if it's not true. But you guys voted these ones surprisingly low, and I strongly disagree. These are awesome. 4.5 stars. Rotom Fan shockingly had the 2nd highest voted polls, and I honestly really don't get it. It doesn't look bad by any means, I just don't think it looks nearly as good as any of its other forms. Also, Base and Fan Rotom should have had their plasma's colors switched, but regardless, it's decent. 3.5 stars. And Frost Rotom is fine, I guess. I really don't have any complaints. There's just nothing to make it stand out, and I don't think it even looks as good as Base Rotom. You guys voted at the lowest, and I agree. 3 stars. Okay, so that brings their final scores to 4 stars for Heat, Wash, and Mow, 3.625 for Fan, and 3.5 for Frost. Let me know if you made it to the end of this one, because it was a doozy.